The Sign of His Coming Revealed. Part 2, Application of the Sign to Hanukkah 2020. Steve Fletcher, A Trumpet for My People. Daniel chapter 9 gives us the key to understanding. Daniel 9:24 through 27 shows us the timeline. Daniel 9:24 through 27. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the Prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. 70 weeks are determined from the order to restore Jerusalem, a 7-year covenant with many, and a midweek abomination. Jesus gives us understanding about the end times in Matthew 24 when he mentions as a sign of his coming the abomination of desolation in verse 15. This points us to Daniel. Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. And Jesus shows us the end time fulfillment of the 70 weeks or years when he mentions the fig tree prophecy in verses 32 through 34 of Matthew 24. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. The rebirth of Israel marks the beginning of the end-time generation, which according to Daniel is 70. 70 weeks can also be understood as 70 years. The Feast of Weeks, or Pentecost, is an annual feast. 1 Feast of Weeks per year means 1 week equals 1 year. 70 weeks, 70 Feasts of Weeks, 70 Pentecosts. 70 weeks are determined. This generation shall not pass from the rebirth of Israel. Now I want to discuss the rebirth of Israel from 1948, the order to restore Jerusalem according to Daniel 9. Israel independence was declared on May 14, 1948. This was their rebirth, or the order to restore Jerusalem. Daniel says that from the order there shall be 70 weeks, 70 Feasts of Weeks, or 70 Pentecosts. Israel's first Pentecost after their rebirth was in June of 1948. 1948 marks Pentecost number 1. Pentecost number 2 is 1949. Pentecost number 3 is 1950. Pentecost number 4 is 1951. Pentecost number 5 is 1952. Pentecost number 6 is 1953. Pentecost number 7 is 1954. Pentecost number 8 is 1955. Pentecost number 9 is 1956. Pentecost number 10 is 1957. I share it this way so you can understand that when we're following the Feast of Pentecost, Pentecost number 10 is 1957 and not 1958. And this gives us our understanding of when Pentecost number 70 is. Pentecost number 10 is 1957, number 20 is 1967, number 30 is 1977, number 40 is 1987, number 50 is 1997, number 60 is 2007, and Pentecost number 70 is 2017. 70 weeks are determined from the order to restore Jerusalem. The 70th Feast of Weeks from the rebirth of Israel was June 4th, 2017. June 4th, 2017 marks the end of the 70 years and the beginning of the final 7 years. Before I share the timeline from June 4th, 2017, showing the final 7 years, I want to share another amazing confirmation of June 4th, 2017. This comes from the restoration of Jerusalem during the Six-Day War in 1967. This exact date also lines up with the restoration of Jerusalem from 1967, 50 years. The Six-Day War began on June 5th, 1967. That means that June 4th and 5th, 2017 also fulfills exactly 50 years, or the year of Jubilee, from the order to restore Jerusalem, just as June 4th, 2017 fulfills exactly 70 feasts of weeks from 1948. From the order to restore Jerusalem, 70 years and 50 years. In the mouth of two witnesses, every matter shall be confirmed. June 4th, 2017. So here we have the timeline of the 70 Pentecosts from the rebirth of Israel, and we have a 50-year Jubilee marker from the restoration of Jerusalem in the Six-Day War, June 5th, 1967, 70 years and 50 years, both bringing us to June 4th, 2017. Leading up to 2017, we saw a rise in end-time signs on earth and in heaven. In 2013, we had Comet Ison on Hanukkah and Thanksgiving. In 2014 and 2015, we had the blood moon tetrad on Passover and Tabernacles. The total solar eclipse that happened on Israel's New Year, Nisan 1, in 2015. Then we saw the rise of the two beasts, Obama and Pope Francis, together at the White House just 3 days before the last super blood moon on Tabernacles in 2015. In 2016, we saw the betrayal of Obama against Israel on Hanukkah, December 23rd, 2016. Resolution 2334, 3.5 years after signing an agreement with Israel on March 22nd, 2013. After Obama had signed the Unbreakable Alliance in Israel in March of 2013, in December of 2016, the Unbreakable Alliance was broken. Then in 2017, we had the maximum signs as the final end-time warnings of the beginning of the times of tribulation. Pentecost 2017 was the 70th Pentecost from the rebirth of Israel, June 4th, 2017. On August 1st, 2017, which was the 9th of Av on the Hebrew calendar, the day of the destruction of both temples, the Wisconsin RFID chipping party, where they began promoting openly the RFID chip implants, mark of the beast, August 1st, 2017. Just 20 days later, The Great American Eclipse. As a sign to America, and all solar eclipses are signs to the nations. This is a sign to the nations. It's also a sign especially to America. The Great American Eclipse of August 21st, 2017. And then we had the Revelation 12 sign on September 23rd. The Lord opened my eyes to the 7-year timeline when he showed me the 2 great American eclipses that occur on August 21st, 2017, and then again on April 8th, 2024. The Lord directed me to look at the exact middle date in between these 2 eclipses. There are 2,422 days in between August 21st, 2017 and April 8th, 2024. The exact middle date, 1,211 days to the middle, is December 14th, 2020. On this day, another total solar eclipse occurs over Argentina, making the 3 dates in question all great American solar eclipses, 2 over North America and 1 over South America. Remember in 2012 when my sign came on 12-12-12? When you look at December 14th as 1,211 days from the first eclipse, and then go to midnight as my sign did, that makes midnight of December 14th and the beginning of December 15th, 1,212 days from August 21st, 2017, Great American Eclipse. Another confirmation from my sign of 12-12-12 on what we are watching now on December 14th and 15th, 2020, which is also exactly midweek Hanukkah, just as my sign was in 2012. 12-12-12. The great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter on December 21st, 2020. After seeing the importance of December 14th, 2020, I then began to see the importance of one of the greatest heavenly signs of 2020, the Great Conjunction on December 21. Whenever Saturn and Jupiter are in conjunction, it is called a Great Conjunction, which happens approximately every 19 to 20 years. But the conjunction that happens this year is the closest they have come in 400 years, and they conjoin exactly at 0 degrees in the constellation Aquarius. Those who follow astrology and the New Age are watching this date as the beginning of the age of Aquarius. But those who watch the heavenly signs, according to the Bible, can see that the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction represents the great war in heaven between the man-child Jupiter and the dragon Satan. The Revelation 12 sign, September 23rd, 2017. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. She being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. The great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, December 21, 2020. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Jupiter is the one represented as the man-child in the Revelation 12 sign that occurred in Virgo over a 10-month birthing period in 2016 and 2017. The child that was born out of the Revelation 12 sign was Jupiter. Saturn is the one represented as the dragon who devours his children. Saturn, one of the titans who once ruled Earth in Roman mythology, devours the infant child he holds in his arm, according to a prophecy Saturn would be overthrown by one of his sons. In response, he ate his sons as soon as they were born. But the mother of his children, Rhea, hid one child, which was Zeus. So Saturn is the one represented as the dragon who devours the children, and Jupiter is the one represented as the man-child. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. The dragon, Saturn, stood before the woman to devour her child, which is represented by Jupiter. And here we have the great conjunction of 2020 on December 21st. December 21st, 2020, the beginning of the 1260-day reign of the Antichrist. The next thing the Lord showed me was the confirmation from December 21st, 2020 as the beginning of the 1260-day reign of the Antichrist. Before we continue, I want to confirm with you through 6 biblical texts that the reign of Antichrist is confirmed to be 1260 days, 42 months, 3.5 years, also described as time, times, and 1/2 a time. Revelation 12:6, the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God for 1,260 days. This also refers to the timing of the rapture of the church, when the woman will be taken to a place prepared of God for 1,260 days. She is going to be protected for 3.5 years. Revelation 11:2, and the holy city shall be tread underfoot 42 months. 3.5 years. Revelation 13:5, there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. Power was given unto him to continue 42 months. 3.5 years. Power given unto the Antichrist. Daniel 12:7, it shall be for a time, times, and 1/2 a time. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. It will be given unto him time, times, and 1/2 a time. 3.5 years to scatter the power of the holy people. Revelation 12:14, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time, times, and 1/2 a time, from the face of the serpent. Again, the woman is protected for 3.5 years. This also shows us the timing of the rapture, which would be mid-tribulation. 3.5 years at the beginning of the reign of the Antichrist. Daniel 7:25, he shall speak great words against the Most High. He shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. They shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of a time. So here we have 6 biblical texts that confirm the reign of the Antichrist as 3.5 years. 1,260 days, 42 months, time, times, and 1/2 a time, 3.5 years. When we calculate out the number of days the reign of Antichrist, 1,260 days, from the great conjunction of December 21st, 2020, there is an amazing confirmation in this. December 21st midnight, or December 22nd, as the reign of the Antichrist is beginning, to June 4th, 2024 is 1,260 days. June 4th, 2024. Remember that the end of the 70 years and 50 years was June 4th, 2017? Now the end of the 1260-day reign of the Antichrist is June 4th, 2024, making a 7-year timeline perfectly from June 4th, 2017 to June 4th, 2024. This is just the beginning of the confirmations. A perfect 7-year timeline from the end of the 70 years, June 4th, 2017 to June 4th, 2024. June 4th, 2024 on the Hebrew calendar is the 27th day of the second month, the 27th day of Ayar, the second month. And this is exactly what is shown in Genesis as the end date of the flood. And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, was the earth dry. Genesis 8:14, the end of the flood on the 27th day of the second month. And this lines up with June 4th, 2024, the end of the flood. December 21st, 2020, plus 1,260 days, brings us, as in the days of Noah, to the day the flood ended according to Genesis 8:14. The 27th day of Ayar, June 4th, 2024. So in this timeline graphic, we show the 70 years that conjoin with the 50 years, the 70th Pentecost, and the Jubilee celebration of the liberation of Jerusalem from 1967, 70 years and 50 years that bring us to June 4th, 2017. And then we have a 7-year timeline from June 4th, 2017 to the end of the reign of the Antichrist to June 4th, 2024. And we also see that Hanukkah is the middle day in between both eclipses from August 21st, 2017 to April 8th, 2024. After I had seen all of this, the Lord showed me the connection between June 4th, 2017 and December 14th, 2020. From June 4th, Pentecost of 2017, where the 7-year timeline begins, to December 14th, 2020, which is the middle date on both American eclipses, there are 1,290 days. Daniel 12:11. From the time the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate shall be set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Now we have a 7-year timeline from June 4th, 2017, plus 1,290 days to Hanukkah, a 7-day interval to the Great Conjunction, and then the beginning of the reign of Antichrist from December 21st, 2020, 1,260 days to June 4th, 2024, giving us a 1,290 plus 7 plus 1,260 day timeline for a perfect 7 years from June 4th, 2017 to June 4th, 2024. My interpretation of all this is that the rapture will occur on December 14th and 15th, 7 days before the rise of the Antichrist, on the Great Conjunction of December 21st, 2020. After the tribulation, not after the Great Tribulation. There is a major confusion about a passage of Scripture in Matthew 24 where Jesus tells us what will happen after the tribulation of those days. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. People assume that when Jesus said after the tribulation, that he meant after the great tribulation. But did Jesus say after the great tribulation? Or did he just say tribulation? Earlier in the chapter, in verse 21, he told us that there would be great tribulation. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. For then shall be great tribulation. Now here in verse 29, he only uses the term tribulation. Matthew 24:29, immediately after the tribulation. Can you see the difference? Here is my interpretation. Jesus said exactly what he means. Remember, we cannot add one word or letter to the Word of God. We must take Jesus at his word, exactly as he speaks and exactly as written. When Jesus said in Matthew 24:29, immediately after the tribulation, he meant that after the first part of the tribulation and just before the great tribulation, these things will happen. What things will happen after the tribulation? Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And this is exactly what we see as signs in the heavens on December 14th through 21st, after the tribulation of those days. The total solar eclipse of December 14th marks the darkening of the sun, which happens in the dark moon phase at the end of the month on the Hebrew calendar. The sun and the moon will be darkened December 14th, 2020. The Geminid meteor shower peaking on this same day also shows the stars of the heavens falling at the same time in confirmation. The stars shall fall from heaven. The sun and the moon shall be darkened. The stars shall fall from heaven. Then we have the great conjunction on December 21st, which represents the war in heaven and the great shaking that is coming. The powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Then we see what happens with all these signs after the tribulation of those days. They will see the sign of the Son of Man. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, with a great sound of a trumpet. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. He shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. After these signs, after the sun and moon being darkened, after the stars of heavens fall, after the heavens shall be shaken, the sign of the Son of Man, the Son of Man coming in glory, a great sound of a trumpet, the gathering together of God's elect. This is the sign of the rapture. After the tribulation of those days, after the sun and moon is darkened, after the stars of the heaven are falling, after the heavens shall be shaken through the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, the sign of the Son of Man coming in glory, a great sound of a trumpet, and the gathering together of God's elect. What an awesome confirmation of the rapture, with the great trumpet and the gathering together of God's elect. Isn't this amazing and beautiful? Flight not in winter. Matthew 24:20. Pray that your flight be not in winter or on the Sabbath day. The next piece of information that goes with all this is the timing of the beginning of the Great Tribulation according to Jesus in Matthew 24. In Matthew 24:15, Jesus says, when you see the abomination of desolation according to the prophet Daniel. This points to Hanukkah and the time of the original abomination by Antiochus Epiphanes in 168 BC. Hanukkah. Then Jesus goes on to say in 24:20, let your flight not be in winter. This would be pointing to the time just before or just after winter. Let your flight be not in winter. It could be before winter. It could be after winter. But right now we're watching all the signs pointing us to just before winter. Winter begins December 21st, the same day as the Great Conjunction is the beginning of winter. Winter begins December 21st at the solstice. So just before winter would be exactly what we're watching on Hanukkah, December 14th, before the solstice. Let your flight be not in winter. Jesus goes on to say in verse 22 about the shortening of the days. Those days shall be shortened. I find it very interesting that together with all this, we see the winter solstice as the shortest day of the year. Those days shall be shortened. The shortest day of the year, the winter solstice. The shaking shown on Hanukkah in Haggai chapter 2. For thus says the Lord of hosts, once more, it is a little while, I will shake the heavens and the earth. Haggai chapter 2 talks of the great shaking that is coming upon the earth. In the beginning of the chapter, we see the shaking mentioned on the 21st day of the 7th month, or the Feast of Tabernacles. In the 7th month, in the 21st day of the month, came the word of the Lord by the prophet Haggai, saying, for thus says the Lord of hosts, yet once it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth, and the sea and the dry land. But later on in the chapter, the shaking is mentioned on the 24th day of the 9th month, or on Hanukkah, as we see, as we compare the 24th day of the 9th month of Kislev is the first candle of Hanukkah. It's the beginning of Hanukkah. Haggai 2:18. Consider now from this day upward, from the 24th day of the 9th month, even from the day that the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid, consider it. Is the seed yet in the barn? Yea, as yet the vine and the fig tree and the pomegranate and the olive tree have not brought forth. From this day I will bless you. And again the word of the Lord came unto Haggai in the 24th day of the month, saying, Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms and of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. So we see in Haggai 2, on the 24th day of the 9th month, on Hanukkah, the seed being brought into the barn, which is the harvest and the rapture, and the shaking of the heavens and the earth, and the overthrow of the thrones of kingdoms. Time will not allow me to share about all the Hanukkah signs going back to 2009, as well as teachings on Hanukkah by Mark Biltz and Jonathan Kahn on the connection between Hanukkah, the Antichrist, and the Great Tribulation. I will leave a full list of video links in the description box to share all documentation I have been working on since June of 2020, leading us to Hanukkah 2020. But before I close, the biggest case right now for everything I am sharing is the actual changes that are happening worldwide in the push for the COVID-19 vaccination, as well as the cashless economy and digital dollar accounts they are preparing for December and January of this winter. I believe we can see right before our eyes the advancement of the beast kingdom and the preparation for the mark of the beast through the COVID-19 traceable vaccination program. Everything is lining up with what I'm sharing about December. Is December 2020 the appointed time for the rapture of the church and the start of the Great Tribulation? I believe all the signs confirm that we have arrived at our final destination. Hanukkah and the winter solstice. The escape and the rise of the Antichrist.